Hey, my reactor. So I'm gonna start with summer part two that I didn't finish, and I'm gonna read three. So I'm gonna start right here. Y'all probably already read it part one, but I'm gonna start right here. What's the date? I don't know. The year. Just tell me the year. He glanced across the room towards the door, then quickly backed at me. I realized I was making him nervous with my ignorance and my sudden intensity. I forced myself to speak calmly. Come on, Ruth. You know what year it is, don't you? It's 1815. When? 1815. I sat still, breathed deep, breathed deeply, calming myself, believing him. I did believe him. I wasn't even as surprised as I should have been. I had already accepted the fact that I had moved through time. Now I knew I was farther from home than I thought. And now I knew why Rufus' father used his whip on niggers as well as horses. Every time I read, I looked up and saw that the boy had left his chair and come closer to me. What's the matter with you, he demanded. You keep acting sick. It's nothing, Ruth. I'm all right. No, I was sick. What was I going to do? Why hadn't I gone home? This could turn out to be such a deadly place for me if I had to stay in it much longer. Is this a plantation, I asked. The Whaling plantation. My daddy turned Whaling. Whaling. That name triggered a memory. Something I haven't thought of for years. Ruth, do you spell your last name Weylin? Yeah, I think that's right. I frowned at him impatiently. A boy his age should certainly be sure of the spelling of his own name, even a name like this with an unusual spelling. It's right, he said quickly. Y'all, this sinus, y'all. And is there a black girl, maybe a slave girl named Alice living around here somewhere? I wasn't sure of the girl's last name. The memory was coming back to me in fragments. Sure, Alice is my friend. Is she? I was staring at my hands trying to think. Every time I got used to one impossibility, I ran into another. She's no slave either, said Rufus. She's free, born free like her mother. Oh, then maybe somehow I let my voice trail away as my thoughts raced ahead of it, fitting things together. The state was right, and the time. The unusual name, the girl, Alice. Maybe what? Prompted Rufus. Yes, maybe what? Well, maybe if I wasn't completely out of my mind, if I wasn't in the middle of the most perfect hallucination I ever heard of, if the child before me was real and was telling the truth, maybe he was one of my ancestors. Maybe he was my several times grandfather, but still vaguely alive in the memory of my family because his daughter had brought a large Bible and a carved wooden chest and had begun keeping family records in it. My uncle still had it. Grandmother Hagar Wyman, born in 1831. Hers was the first name listed, and she had given her parents' names as Rufus Wyman and Alice Green something Wyman. Rufus, what's Alice's last name? Greenwood. What were you talking about? Maybe what? Nothing. I just thought I might knew someone in her family. Do you? I don't know. It's been a long time since I seen the person I'm thinking of. Weak lies. But they were better than the truth. As young as the boy was, I thought he would question my sanity if I told the truth. Alice Greenwood, how would she marry this boy? Or would it be marriage? And why hadn't someone in my family mentioned that Ruth Wayman was white? If they knew, probably they didn't. Hagar Wayman Blake had died in 1880, long before the time of any member of my family that I had known. No doubt most information about her life had died with her. At least it had died before it filtered down to me. There was only one Bible left. Hagar had filled pages of it with her careful script. There was a record of her marriage to Arbor Blake and a list of her 7 children, their marriages, some grandchildren, and someone else had taken up the listing. So many relatives that I had never known would never know, or would I? I looked over at the boy who would be Hager's father. There was nothing in him that reminded me of any of my relatives. Looking at him confused me, but he had to be the one. There had to be some kind of reason for the link he had not seemed to have. Not that I really thought of a blood relationship could explain the way I had twice been drawn to him. It wouldn't. But then neither would anything else will be. What we had was something new, something that didn't even have a name, some matching strangeness in us that may or may not have come from our being related. Still, now I have a special reason for being glad I've been able to save him after all. After all, what would have happened to me, to my mother's family, if I hadn't saved him? Was that why I was here? Not only to ensure the survival of one accident-prone small boy, but to ensure my family's survival, my own birth. Again, what would have happened if the boy had drowned? Would he have drowned without me, or would his mother have saved him somehow? Would his father have arrived in time to save him? It must be that one of them would have saved him somehow. His life could not depend on the actions of his unconceived descendant. No matter what I did, he would have to survive the father Hager, or I could not exist. That made sense. But somehow it didn't make enough sense to give me any comfort. It didn't make enough sense for me to test it by ignoring him if I found him in trouble again. Not that I could have ignored any child in trouble, but this child needed special care. If I was to live, if others were to live, he must live. I didn't dare test the product. You know, he said, peering at me, you look a lot like Isla's mother. If you wore a dress and tied your hair up, you look a lot like her. He sat down companionably beside me on the bed. I'm surprised your mother didn't mistake me for her then, I said. Not with you dressed like that. She thought you were a man at first, just like I did, and like Daddy did. Oh, that's a mistake. Oh, that mistake was a little easier to understand now. Are you sure you aren't related to Alice yourself? Not that I know of, I lied, and I changed the subject. Ruth, are there slaves here? He nodded. 38 slaves, Daddy said. He drew his bare feet up and sat cross-legged on the bed facing me, still examining me with interest. You're not a slave, are you? No, I didn't think so. You don't talk right, or dress right, or act right. You don't even seem like a runaway. I'm not, and you don't call me master either. I surprised myself by laughing. Master? You were supposed to, he was very serious. You want me to call you black? His seriousness stopped my laughter. What was funny anyway? He was probably right. No doubt I was supposed to give him some title of respect, but master? You have to say it, he insisted, or young master, or mister, like Alice does. You're supposed to. No, I shook my head. Not unless things get a lot worse than they are. The boy gripped my arm. Yes, he whispered. You'll get into trouble if you don't. If Daddy hears you. I'll get in trouble if Daddy heard me. I'd get in trouble if Daddy heard me say anything at all. But the boy was obviously concerned, even frightened for me. His father sounded like a man who worked at inspiring fear. All right, I said. If anyone comes, I'll call you Mr. Rufus. What I do? If anyone else came, I'd be lucky to survive. Y'all, I'm going to stop at chapter 3, then I'll do 3 another time. So I'm almost finished this. Okay. Yes, Rufus. Yes, said Rufus. He looked relieved. I still had scars on my back where Daddy hit me with the whip. I saw them. It was the time for me. It was time for me to get out of this house. I had done enough talking and learning and hoping to be transported home. It was clear that whatever power had used me to protect Rufus had not provided for my own protection. I had to get out of this house into a place of safety before day came. If there was a place of safety for me, it's not here. I wonder how Alice's parents managed, how they survived. Hey, said Rufus suddenly. I jumped, looked at him, and realized that he had been saying something I had missed. I said, "What's your name?" he repeated. "You never told me." "Was that all?" Edana, I said. "Most people call me Dana." "Oh, no," he said softly. He stared at me the way he had when he thought I might be a ghost. "What's wrong?" "Nothing, I guess. But, well, you want to know if I had seen you this time before you got here the way I did at the river. Well, I didn't see you, but I think I heard you." "How? When?" "I don't know how. You weren't here. But when the fire started and I got so scared, I heard a voice, a man," he said, Dana. "Dana." Then he said, "Is it happening again?" And someone else, you, whispered, "I think so. I heard you." I sighed wearily, longing for my own bed and an end to questions that had no answers. How had Rufus heard Kevin and me across time and space? I didn't know. I didn't even have the time to care. I had other more immediate problems. Who was that man?" Rufus asked. "My husband." I rubbed a hand across my face. "Ruth, I have to get out of here before your father wakes up. Will you show me the way downstairs so that I don't awaken anyone?" "Where will you go?" "I don't know, but I can't stay here." I paused for a moment, wondering how much he could help me, how much he will help me. "I'm a long way from home," I said, "and I don't know when I'll be able to get back there. Do you know any place I could go?" Rufus uncrossed his legs and scratched his head. "You could go outside and hide until morning. Then you could come out and ask Daddy if you would work here. He hires free niggas sometimes." "Does he? If you were free and black, do you think you want to work for him?" He looked away from me, shook his head. "I guess not. He's pretty mean sometimes. Is there someplace else I could go?" He did some more thinking. "You could go to town and find work there." "What's the name of town?" "Easton." "Is it far?" "No, not so far. The niggas walk there sometimes when Daddy gives them a pass, or maybe what? Alice's mother lives closer. You could go to her and she could tell you the best place to go get work. You could stay with her too, maybe. Then I might see you again before you go home." I was surprised he wanted to see me. I hadn't had much contact with children since I've been one myself. Somehow I found myself liking this one though. His environment had left his unlikable marks on him. But in the South, I could have found myself at the mercy of someone much worse. Could have been descendants from someone much worse. "Where can I find Alice's mother?" I asked. "She lives in the woods. Come on outside and I'll tell you how to get there." He took his candles and went to the door of his room. The room shadow moved eerie as he moved. I realized suddenly how easy it would be for him to betray me, to open the door and run away or shout in alarm. Instead, he opened the door, cracked and looked out. Then he turned and beckoned to me to come. He seemed excited and pleased and only frightened enough to make him cautious. I relaxed, following him quickly. He was enjoying himself, having an adventure, and incidentally he was playing with fire again, helping an intruder to escape undetected from his father's house. His father would probably take the whoops of both of us if he knew. Downstairs, the large heavy door opened noisily, and we stepped into the darkness outside, the near darkness. There was half a moon and several million stars lighting the night as they never did at home. Rufus immediately began to give me directions to his friend's house, but I stopped him. There was something else to be done first. Where would the draperies have fallen, Rufus? Take me to them. He obeyed, taking me around the corner of the house to the side. There's what was left of the draperies by lay smoking on the ground. If we can get rid of this, I said, can you get your mother to give you some new draperies without telling your father? I think so, he said. They hardly talk to each other anyway. Most of the drapes were cold. I stomped out the few that were still edged and red and threatened to flame up again. Then I found a fairly large piece of unburnt cloth. I spread it out flat and spilled it with the smaller pieces and bits of ashes and whatever dirt I scooped up along with them. Rufus helped me silently. When we were finished, I rolled the cloth into a tight bundle and gave it to him. Put it in your fireplace, I told him. Watch to see that it all burns before you go to sleep. But Ruth, don't burn anything else. He glanced down and birds. I won't. Good. There must be a safer way of knowing your father. Now, which way is to Alice's house? So y'all will continue with 3. I'm going to have to do them in chapters because these chapters are long, y'all. So we'll be on this book for a while. So I'll be back with 3. And I'll see y'all soon. It gets better. So, bye, my reactors.